What's good? What's good? What's good, world? What's up? I just want to first of all say that welcome to another episode of At My Mama's House. It's actually the first episode. And you will always hear me start off by saying that I come to you humbly out of respect for life and life itself. That's very important to me. So that's one of my mottos that I always tell people and I always keep in my mind. You know, I've been wanting to start this podcast for quite some time now. But there were a lot of things that led me or kept me from actually starting. A lot of the things that I have mastered or been blessed to be aware of can sometimes be my crutch. But as of the last week, there were things that transpired that gave me the motivation to push myself into just doing a show, just starting it off, right? So I wanted to be grown in the podcast world without actually allowing myself to grow as the child into the adult of podcasting. So I made the decision to humble myself in that manner and just allow myself to grow in this realm, because this is a new realm for me. A lot of people that don't know me, my name is Roc Star, rapper, former amateur boxer, certified fitness trainer and dietitian, boxing coach, USA licensed boxing coach, among a lot of other things, entrepreneur, businessman. And the reason why I named this show At My Mama's House, because at the end of the day, it all starts with the roots, right? And so today is Monday. And so one of the things that I like to do, or I decided to do when it came to my strategy for this podcast, was dedicate each day of the week, not necessarily every day, to something specific as far as the topic. But on this show, this is the Breaking the Ice show. And even though it's Man Up Mondays, I'm just going to kind of be everywhere knowingly, because it's my introduction to y'all. So for those who are just watching or just started watching, make sure you click the like button, subscribe, most importantly, and share. Today is Man Up Mondays, and one of the first things that I wanted to talk about and start this first show off is this. At some point, this show is going to make a lot of noise, and I know it, because I tend to cause a lot of noise to be made without me personally making it. Secondly, what you won't see on this show is me directly pointing to people individually. As a man that was taught to respect other people, my show is going to be dedicated to speaking in general. That means about things that someone you may know or know of have done, because in life, information is based off what we see other people do, what we see as far as things transpiring. So just always keep that in mind when those that send me ideas or stories, send me them, even though they may be about a specific person, whether it's a popular person, whether it's a person who doesn't know, no one really knows, but just went viral. Just always keep in mind that when I tackle these subjects, they're not going to be intended or have an intended target, because I am not about putting people on the spot, especially if it's going to put them in a negative light. So what I will do is individually give people their roses, because I believe, well, not believe, because I don't believe in anything. My mindset is always to think positive and act out positively. So with that being said, here we go, man. Forgive me for the few arms. This is my first podcast, so, a little anxiety. And it's always said in the music business, if a person never get nervous before their performance, they don't love it, or they're losing their skill at some point. So as many shows as I've done, I always had, butterflies before I performed. So of course it would make sense for me to have butterflies for my first podcast, having that fear of making a mistake when in the end of the day, as long as those mistakes are not hurting other people, you have something to grow on. So let's get it started. It's Man Up Mondays. And what I want to talk about is men. Men. And I'll break down a few details. First of all, we have to understand that between 77 and 80% of African American men and women were raised in quote unquote single parent households. Which means that when you have that percentage of young men specifically and young women, when these kids grow up in an environment where there's not necessarily an everyday authoritarian figure in their life, then it's a high percentage chance that that child, be it a male or female, is going to be quicker to challenge things, challenge rules, challenge systems, challenge codes and creeds, whether it be in the household or outside of the household, including work, including in the sports realm if the child plays sports, including in their relationships. You're affected by that. And that can be a big problem for us when we're trying to either cope with dealing with other people or dealing with people in general. Even if it's just somebody you're talking to on the phone at customer service for a particular, company or corporation that you may be having an issue with when it comes to service. The first thing I want to say is that when it comes to giving solutions on Black people or African Americans improving their mindset, improving their way of life, changing the narrative that has been bestowed upon us by the negative images that have been sold to not only other people, but us as well. We have to be mindful when we're offering advice or giving solutions. One in particular is this. We have so many issues that it usually comes to a situation where we become so fulfilled or so filled or so invested in feeling like our solution is the solution or our idea is the idea that can work, to where giving solutions can be like someone being shot 7, 8, 9, 10 times, going into the hospital, and you got the doctors, you got the nurses, and so forth and so on. And in that moment, you got to understand that when that patient is in that emergency room with 7 to 10 bullet holes, what you are really seeing, as far as using as an analogy when it comes to Black people and all that we have against us, each bullet hole where blood is flowing out represents what is wrong with us. And so when it comes to having conversations about what's the best route, what to do, what we shouldn't do, and finding solutions when it comes to Black people bettering themselves and getting out of the situations that we either put ourselves in or was put in, we have to sort of find a way to decide in what order we're going to do this. Because when that patient comes in and got 7 to 10 bullet holes, if the doctors and the nurses and everyone else that's involved in saving this patient's life is wasting time and energy debating on which hole, debating on and having a conversation about why this person got shot so many times and this, that, and this, that, then that patient is going to die. So you got to ask yourself, so what do these doctors and nurses and everyone that's involved in helping saving a patient's life with 7 to 10 bullet wounds, when they only have so much time to save this patient's life and keep this person alive? You got to ask yourself, what type of conversation are they having? What system filled with different alternative solutions do they have put in place to help come to the best decision in a timely manner to help save this patient with 7 to 10 bullet holes life? Because every second counts. Every drop of blood that is being wasted and gushing out of this patient counts. And if they don't start to come up with a solution quick or have a game plan that's built in a way where the solutions provided to choose from to help this person to help save this patient's life, then that patient is going to die. And unfortunately, when it comes to the solution to Black people and their plight, this is exactly what's happening, but on a very huge, large scale. Too oftentimes we get so caught up arguing and debating about the solution and what should be and what should be done and what shouldn't be done, to where we end up dying off one by one. So we have to think about this when it comes to us as a whole. Another thing, one of the other big problems that we have as a people is we're going about solving the problem the wrong way. Excuse my French, but we're basically being ass backwards with our approach to it. As a clinical psychology major, one of the things that I've grown to understand is this. One of the best ways to begin to work on solving a problem is you got to go to the root of the problem. You can clip the bad branches off. You can clip the bad leaves off. But if the root ain't healthy, then that tree is going to die off. So one of the things that we as a people have to start doing is stop always focusing on the branch. Stop always focusing on the leaves. Stop always judging the bark or judging the tree when you only see the moment. And let's get to the root of the problem. That's what we got to focus on. That's what we got to focus on. We have to understand that we have to come up with a better system. Because at the end of the day, we actually all or most of us have or know some of the solutions that's needed to fix the problem. But the problem is that we get caught up in dragging out the debate, and instead of just having a system to where, hey, regardless of if we agree on this, we have a system in place of where we have to take these steps to get a solution to save ourselves, to save each other. One by one, group by group, town by town, city by city, black owned business by black owned business, nation by state, nation by nation, country by country, and continent by continent. You know, sometimes we have the answer and don't even realize it because the manner in which we must act on the answer, we're not necessarily susceptible to it, or we not necessarily fond of having to take that particular action to get those results. And a lot of times when we get to that point, we end up complicating the issue when it's not even complicated. My grandfather, John Phillips, war veteran, military guy, had a lot of Black Panther in him. He was even associated to some extent. He used to tell me this: life is simple. People complicate shit. I'm going to repeat that again. Life is simple. People complicate shit. And it didn't hit me until I began to realize that I was complicating things in my life when the whole time they had simple solutions. And a lot of times it's our ignorance that causes us to complicate things that are actually simple in its purest form of logic. But when you don't know, or when you do know and you choose not to act on what you know because you're not fond of the necessary steps that needs to be taken to get those results, then that's what happens. You hinder yourself. Let me give you an example. I got an uncle. He can change an engine like it ain't nothing with his eyes closed. It ain't a car he can't fix. It's not complicated to him. Why? Because he's not ignorant to vehicle engines. Right? So you got to ask yourself, well, or you may be saying, oh, well, shoot, everybody don't know how to fix a car. Yeah, it is complicated to you. But what I'm saying is let's dig deeper. Why is changing an engine complicated to you and not complicated to my Uncle Bobby? Because you're ignorant. You're ignorant to the knowledge of knowing how to change an engine. So now watch how I connect the dots. I'm ignorant to changing an engine because I wasn't fond of the steps that's required for me to take in order to know how to fix an engine. Sometimes our ignorance is chosen. Most of the time, our ignorance is a chosen ignorance. And that's okay in some situations. Because if I take the time to not be ignorant to fixing an engine and make the change of the mindset and say, you know what? I'm going to learn how to fix engines. I'm going to read. I'm going to study. I'm going to go find a mentor and I'm going to work under him or her. And I'm going to learn the basics and work my way up to the point to where I can practice enough and experiment on engines to where I can safely and successfully do it myself. And true enough, not everybody should have to learn how to change an engine. I get it. It's not for some people. But what I can say is this. There are some things in your life that you cannot afford to choose to be ignorant to. Because not only will it hurt you, it will hurt your kids and their kids. And we have to learn to stop making the mistakes of choosing to be ignorant to things that we cannot afford to choose to be ignorant to. And this is what's slowing down our progress as a whole. Further helping those who are, quote unquote, holding us down or have put systems in place to keep us from easily or as easily attaining the results that other people may not have the same challenges to. And forgive me if I'm flying above your altitude, but you can always rewind this. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Life is simple. People complicate shit. We also have to understand this. We got to stop choosing to swim in our trauma. You know what I find a problem with a lot of black people? You want to know what's one of our worst drugs? Pain. So much so that being hurt and being in pain and being a victim has become our own addiction. We don't feel right without it. It's embedded in us. It's in our blood. It's been passed on. And it's one thing that I was taught. You only a victim as long as you accept being one. But then people went crazy and got mad and all in their feelings, especially a bunch of you overgrown ass, over emotional men who I like to call single mama ass Negroes. When Kanye said slavery is a choice. Slavery was a choice. I totally agree. But when you flying on the altitude that I'm flying on, and you have the knowledge to be able to comprehend that to the point to where you won't get emotionally sensitive to what's said about everything, you will look at the logic and you will see that it makes sense. First of all, you have to look in the dictionary and find out what the word choice means. You have to look in the dictionary and find out what the word slavery means. See, what happened is a lot of y'all had got it twisted. And again, ass backwards with the thinking. Every slave that was enslaved had a choice to either be a slave or not be a slave, or stay enslaved or not stay enslaved. Here's my proof. Now, I'm not a religious person, even though I've studied them all. But based on religious principles, even God gave man free will. So when you sit here and try to argue and debate to somebody that slavery wasn't a choice, you're going against God's own word, God's own blessing. God gave you free will. God gave you the choice to accept God or deny God. So how is it that you can turn around and then say, oh, well, slavery wasn't a choice? Now, here's where here's where I'm going to get you. Here's where I'm going to shut a lot of people up that may be already reacting. Slavery was a choice. It's just that the consequences probably meant death. Yeah. Slavery was and still is a choice. Now, what you can argue and say is, and what I'm about to say is that you might not always have the choice in deciding the consequences of the choices you made. That's why when you hear things, the first step is to gain understanding. Second, actually, listening, because it's an art, not waiting to respond. Once you listen, then you process that information to gain understanding. See what makes sense it make. Let it travel through the logic portal. Because when it bypasses that and it goes straight to the heart, you already effed up. You already effed up. Especially if you're a grown ass man. Ain't nothing more embarrassing than an over emotional grown ass man. And when almost 80% of black men and women were raised in a single parent home or an environment where there was no consistent authoritarian figure, you tend to have a bunch of over emotional grown ass men. And you know what that means? That means they make over emotional ass decisions. Think about what I'm saying. We have to start with self. We are so addicted to our pain to where somebody could be throwing a life raft at you after hearing you complaining. I can't do this. I'm hurt. I'm drowning. I'm suffering. And then they throw a life raft at you. And what do? You don't even want the life raft. Misery loves company. Why you think it's always looking for somebody to be around them? They want you to be miserable with them. And let me tell you something right now. I am not a victim. And I refuse to be a victim. I'm a grown ass man, dog. And despite what I've been through, despite what my people been through and my ancestors been through, you want to know what helped us get us this far? Because we stood as men throughout it all. When we couldn't look at a white woman throughout it all, we stood as men. We were still men at the end of the day. And I'm going to go even deeper. We were warriors. Because the difference between a warrior and a man is that, see, a man, he could break at some point. But a warrior, they play chess. I'm going to give you an example. I remember growing up, I used to see guys, go off. See some people get killed, some people get killed, some people go to jail, all this over things that were said about them or their loved ones. People get into it and stuff like that. Somebody say, F your mama or F your chick or da 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 da. And it goes to the heart and they end up doing something stupid. And don't get me wrong, I understand. I can imagine how that makes you feel. Somebody disrespect your loved one, your wife or your mom or this or that. And you want to, put them in their place. And don't get it twisted. Repercussions and consequences do have their place. But it got to make sense. So I was one of them cats where, person could talk about my mama, whatever. You could talk about, da 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 da. But I had a different level of keenness. See, in my mind, one of the amendments is the freedom of speech. Right? In America, you have a right to free speech. You say what you want to say. That's your right. Even if it's disrespectful. Even if it's disrespectful. Even if it's disrespectful. So that didn't bother me whenever that happened to me the few times that it did. Because I'm not finna let nobody make me be who I'm not. Because when they make me become who I'm not, then I become them. And I'm not you. I'm better than you. I'm special. I'm God body. I'm going to say it again. Never let nobody make you be someone other than yourself. Because the minute you do that, you become them. And you better than them. Are you? It remains to be seen. See, I'm comfortable in my skin. And I've learned not to react to everything, especially from an emotional standpoint. Because at the end of the day, one of the things I would say the few times a guy said that, or got out of line, you know what I would tell him? I would smile. You ain't gonna put your hands on me. You ain't gonna put your hands on me. You can do what you want. You can talk all the trash you want. Don't follow me to that car. I got something for you. And I wouldn't tell him that, but that's in my mind. But I'll tell him, you ain't gonna put your hands on me. And would smile. And you'll be amazed how that'll aggravate somebody more than barking with them. I'm not a dog. I'm a human being. I'm a grown man. I'm grown and sexy, full of class. You know what I'm talking about? I got important things to do. I got more important things, more valuable things to do than to bark with you. You know? That's the true definition of being cool. See, that's what's impressive. And especially when I know what I can do. I know what these hands can do and da. And also, I embrace the fact that I am not a fighter. I'm a lover, not a fighter. See, I don't have to be a fighter to be able to defend myself and against anybody that attacks me or puts me in harm's way or threatens me. I'm a lover, not a fighter. But that doesn't mean that I can just go, that people can just come around and beat me up. No, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Many have tried and failed, right? But I also understand that being rough and tough or feeling like I have something to prove to every man that I'm harder than them or that I'm dangerous, that just shows people that you're really insecure about your ability to be able even to defend yourself, be it via trauma or not. One of the things that I tell people, I explain this to them. You ever wonder why, like, say when you go places, be it your new chick family member's house, you might have her male cousins, maybe even a brother, something, they kind of have this standoffish feeling. And you could always feel that vibe like, yeah, nigga, she ever tell me you fucking with her wrong or this or that or whatever, I'll beat your ass. They always have that, I'll kick your ass on standby. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all done felt that energy before. I know y'all brothers have. Or you might walk into a building or go to a party or a club and you could just feel the energy, or you go into a neighborhood, and especially if you a man like me who was taught when you get around me and you speak up, you make sure they hear you, but in a respectful tone, and let them know you put your hand out. But in my generation, we give dab, let them know, hey, I'm here, right? How you doing? My name Roc Star. Nice to meet you, my brothers. But then you will see these guys, some of these guys, they are mean muggy or standoffish, hesitant to speak, or, real funny acting, not really quick to open up, you know what I mean? Like they too hard to speak to you or embrace you. You know what I'm saying? Do y'all want to know where that comes from? When I tell people this, it blows their freaking mind. You wouldn't believe where it comes from until I tell you. Let me explain. So, y'all ever hollered at a girl? I know most of you have. if you're an adult, a teenager or adult. How do the average woman react when a guy or guys attempt to holler at them? Different ways, right? Watch this. Standoffish. Sometimes they look at you with a stank look. Not quick to open up when you speak. Put two and two together. So while men out here thinking that mean mugging, people have interpreted that as them trying to be hard. No, it's not. And even those that do it think that that's them being hard and thinking that's something manly. Man, that's as feminine as possible. That's a feminine trait. That comes from being raised in an environment where there was no real authoritarian figure, and most likely they were raised around a bunch of women or a single mama. And they have an over-emotional attachment to their character. And it don't have nothing to do with being breastfed. Because a lot of these suckers were Similac babies. It's a feminine trait. That's a feminine trait, man. If you look at the animal kingdom, when a male animal see another animal, sometimes they stand off or bark and let it be known, hey, yeah, you a lion, I'm a lion too. Okay, just letting you know, I see you. Yeah, I see you too. That's what's up. So these are the type of situations where, man, we got to fix. Too many of us are out here attempting to fix the problem, but ain't nobody taking the time to go to the root. Or we too busy trying to hush a crime baby. Oh, he traumatized. Oh, he been through this, she been through this. She was this, she was that. They did this to her. Don't get me wrong, that matters. I mean, it's not that first of all, I don't sympathize with nobody. I empathize, but I don't sympathize with nobody. I may empathize with you. It's a difference. Shout out to my brother Wendell. He told me that before at work, former co-worker. And we have a lot of disagreements about a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, he's my brother and I love him. And I know in his heart he's a good dude. Shout out to Wendell. But he laced me with that game. And he broke it down. I don't sympathize with nobody, but I empathize with a lot of people. I empathize with people, but I don't sympathize with nobody. Now, you can be a victim of an incident, but when you're choosing to live in being a victim, that's a problem. I have a problem with that. Look, what happened, what we gonna do? If I'm still here, what we gonna do? What's next? I gotta get past it. Person lose their leg, they can't afford to swim in victimhood. They gotta move forward. They gotta make it happen despite. I'm gonna acknowledge the trauma, and you're supposed to not acknowledge what a person been through. That's insensitive, and that's a lack of caring. But we're gonna push forward though. We can't be out here making excuses. 8th grade, Kirby Middle School. I think it's Rafi Kirby Middle School. I didn't do my homework for the weekend. 8th grade, come to class. I can't think of the teacher name. And to all my schoolmates who remember, you could just send it to me. And when she got to me, she said, Mr. Kibble, where's your homework? She's a pretty lady. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect, but she was like one of the prettiest teachers in the school. She had big breasts, light skin, whatever the case. So she asked me, say, Mr. Kibble, where your homework? So I made up a lie because I didn't do the homework. At home playing on that game. You know what she told me? She said, oh, so you ain't, so what happened to your homework? I said, oh, I lied. I said the dog ate it. We had a dog. My mom had a dog. She knew I was lying. I mean, she been a teacher up to years. She know when a student lying. So she said, oh, okay. So she went around asking everybody about their homework. Those that had it, they turned it in. And she came back to me. And the crazy part about it, what made her come back to me is because she knew I was talented. I've always been a talented kid. I was very witty. I was a class clown. I used to rap all the time, rap and sing, beatbox, all that, flip, all that. She knew I was talented. And she came back around me and she bended over, like, to on the table to talk to me. And I want y'all to hear me close. She said, Mr. Kibble, what I'm about to tell you is going to do one or two things. It's either going to do nothing and you'll be a failure in life, or what I'm going to tell you is going to at some point become relevant to you and you're going to succeed in life. And after that, you know what she told me? And I love her for this to this day. I don't know if she's alive or not or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Of course, I'm going to claim that. And I really would like to meet her. But you want to know what she told me? She said, excuses are tools which incompetent people use to give examples of nothingness. I know, right? F'd you up, didn't it? That's exactly what it did to me. I was stuck. I didn't even know what half them words meant at the time. I'm going to say it again. She told me, she said, excuses are tools which incompetent people use to give examples of nothingness. Problems is like buttholes. Everybody got one. Everybody got one. And at some point, we got to stop complaining because it changes nothing. Worrying changes nothing. Did you know that worrying kills just as many people as heart disease and diabetes? Because the minute you divert that energy from worrying so much and divert it into finding solutions, you'll be more happier. Happiness is a choice. It's 1,440 minutes in a day, y'all. Even if you lose someone that you love that day, you can at least take 1 minute out of that 414 minutes in that day that you lost somebody you love to smile about something that was so special about them. Life ain't always going to be easy, but it damn sure don't have to always be hard. I just want to say I love y'all. I shade all my brothers and sisters. Just remember, stop looking for the light at the end of the tunnel because you are the light. I want to thank those that take the time to tune in to my first episode. I started off, real insecure about it because I wanted it to be so perfect, knowing that I'm perfectly flawed. So I knew better. I've been getting on my butt. I've been getting on myself, and I'm glad that I've gotten to the point to where I can finally do this first episode. So do what you want with it, be as it be. Take the clips, do what y'all do. I already know something gonna go viral on what I said. Subscribe. Okay. And the name of the show is At My Mama's House. This was a great, great first show for me. One of the things that I am going to do that I did a lot of research, and one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to out of all the podcasts and stuff that I watch, I was taking notes about what not to do as well, which is something that should be a part of people's formula. Don't just look and find out what it is you should be doing to be successful. Look and find errors and find mistakes and find things that people are not that shouldn't be doing what they're doing, and take from that so you can know what not to do when it comes to doing what you're doing. Okay? And so I don't plan on my shows being no more than an hour. If it takes longer than that to get points across and get and come up with solutions, or to generate conversation where to be buzzworthy and to drop jewels, and then that means that you're not really giving a message. At that point, it's just overkill to me. Now, I'm not saying that it's not a good thing, but for me, it's something that I choose not to do. That's a lot of damn talking. You feel me? So I just want to thank y'all. I love y'all. And again, remember, stop looking for the light at the end of the tunnel when you are the light.